It was a gray afternoon when Emily, 15 years old, sat alone on the school bench. Around her, whispers and judgmental glances followed her like shadows. "She'll never amount to anything," murmured a group of classmates. Emily was the invisible girl, rejected by everyone for being shy, wearing simple clothes, and always carrying worn-out books in her backpack. But what no one knew was that behind that quiet figure, there was a fire burning for change. This was the beginning of a journey that would prove that even the most underestimated can achieve the impossible. Emily clutched her worn-out backpack tightly as she crossed the schoolyard. The chatter around her was a constant reminder that she didn't belong there. A group of girls in the corner pointed at her and giggled quietly, murmuring words that Emily didn't even need to hear to understand. She was the weird one, the girl who'll never be anyone. Sitting at the back of the classroom, she got lost in scribbled notebooks, trying to ignore the comments and stares that burned like fire. During recess, while everyone grouped into animated circles, Emily isolated herself on a bench near the library, holding an old book in her hands. It wasn't that she wanted to be invisible. It was as if the world had decided it for her. At home, things weren't much different. Her mother worked late to pay the bills, leaving little time for conversations. Emily spent hours in her small room, studying and dreaming of a future that felt as distant as the stars. One afternoon, while organizing books in the school library, she saw a bright poster on the wall, National Science Competition. Share your idea with the world. Emily's heart raced. It was a chance to show she was more than what people saw. But soon, her excitement turned to doubt. A competition like that must cost money, and her family's finances barely covered the basics. Even so, something about the idea made her clutch the flyer tightly. For the first time in a long while, Emily felt a glimmer of hope in the middle of the chaos. The next day, Emily returned to school with the flyer carefully folded in her backpack. During classes, she could hardly focus, imagining what it would be like to create an amazing project and present it to so many people. But fear crept into her thoughts. Can I really do this, she wondered. After class, she went to the public library to research more about the competition. Her heart sank when she saw the registration fee, $50. For Emily, it might as well have been $5,000. Determined not to give up, she started thinking about how to raise the money. That night, she came up with an idea: selling baked goods. Over the next few days, she used her spare hours after school to prepare brownies and cookies, with her mother helping as much as she could despite being exhausted from work. The first time Emily showed up outside school selling her baked goods, the judgmental stares from her classmates hit her hard. "Look, she's a cookie seller now," mocked one of the popular girls, drawing laughter from the group around her. Emily felt her cheeks burn, but she held the tray firmly. The words hurt, but they wouldn't make her quit. Every day was a challenge. Along with the stares and laughter, there were the difficulties of selling enough to meet her goal. But Emily always reminded herself why she was doing this: to prove she could overcome any obstacle, even when the world was against her. After 3 intense weeks of work, Emily sat on her bed, counting the money she had saved. When she realized she had exactly the amount needed, a shy smile spread across her face. She still had a long way to go, but that small victory was the first step in proving the impossible could be achieved. With the money saved, Emily sent in the registration fee and began planning her project with all the dedication she could muster. Her idea was ambitious: creating a sustainable model to reduce water waste in small communities. For weeks, her routine was consumed by the project. Emily stayed up late, adjusting calculations and refining sketches of her prototype. Despite the exhaustion, she felt something different. She had a goal that motivated her to keep going. However, school remained a hostile place. Some classmates still made jokes, laughing at her whenever they saw her carrying books or drawing in her notebooks. "Do you really think this is going to get you anywhere?" sneered one boy. Though the words hurt, Emily used the pain as fuel. The more people doubted her, the more determined she became to prove them wrong. A few days before the competition, Emily finally completed her prototype. She carefully saved everything on her computer and went to bed, feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. But the next morning, her world collapsed. When she turned on her computer, something was wrong. The screen displayed a critical error, and all her files were gone. Despair took over. Crying in her room, she felt like all her effort had been in vain. Why was fate so cruel? Why now, when she was so close? Amid the tears, she remembered her mother's words. "Never give up on your dreams, Emily. If there's a way, you'll find it." Inspired by this memory, Emily took a deep breath and made a decision. She would stay up all night rebuilding the project. The result didn't matter. She would give it her best because she knew she couldn't quit. With her heart racing and her eyes focused on the paper, Emily began reconstructing her idea piece by piece. It was a race against time, but she wouldn't let that setback erase her determination. On the day of the competition, Emily arrived at the crowded hall. When she stepped on stage to present, her hands trembled, but her voice grew stronger as she spoke. Her passion was so evident that it captured the judges' attention. When the results were announced and Emily's name echoed to the hall as the winner, she could hardly believe it. With tears in her eyes, she stepped onto the stage to receive the trophy, knowing she had overcome more than just technical challenges. She had conquered the barriers imposed by others and, most importantly, by herself. Years later, Emily, now a renowned scientist, returned to her school to give a speech. As she looked at the attentive faces of the students, she smiled. Never let anyone tell you what you can or cannot achieve. The strength to overcome the impossible is within each of you. At the end of her words, the audience erupted into applause. Emily left the stage knowing her story would continue to inspire others to overcome the impossible.